No more Muslim refugees in Australia. Take a strong stance. Protect our security, our safety on our streets, and our people.
At the end of the day, you can either be a Muslim or an Australian. It must be either or, because the two do not correlate and do not correspond.
In Brisbane, more flags and more rhetoric.
There are those lurking close at hand who wish to destroy all that is Australian and our freedom.
In each city where there was a protest, counter-demonstrations were almost as large. Australia is not having a crisis, but the protests are a sign of fear and growing discontent.
So when they're actually going to bring them out, nearly 3,000 people applied for visas to actually come out to Australia, we don't know what their background is. And it's only purely based on documentation that they've filled out, because investigations can't be done into their birth, deaths and marriages of who they are.
Pauline Hanson's concerns about taking in refugees from Gaza reflect the fears of many Australians who worry about safety and security. She points out that it's hard to check the background of people fleeing from war-torn areas like Gaza.
So we're actually bringing people over here, we have no understanding. There's another thing to consider too. Those people, once they land in Australia, will they claim refugee status? So then we're stuck with them and we don't know the backgrounds. I think we shouldn't be taking any of them. We have to take a strong stance against Muslims, strong stance against Islam and its teachings and its beliefs. They should be going to a safe haven, a country closest to them, but a lot of these Arab countries don't want them either.
Another point she makes is about nearby countries. Many nations close to Gaza, with similar cultures and languages, are not willing to take in these refugees. If these countries are turning them away, Australians might wonder why we should take them in. Hanson suggests that refugees should find safety closer to home instead of coming to Australia.
We have to take a strong stance to ensure that people that come here are compatible with our culture, our way of life, our beliefs and our laws. So what I'm saying is, pressure the government to say no more Muslims in Australia.
This is incredible. Jordan, which is the traditional homeland of Palestinians, Egypt, which used to hold the Gaza Strip. These are the countries that should be looking after Palestinians. They take no one. So it's fair to ask the question why Australia is the destination.
So we shouldn't be taking these people into Australia. I have fear for the nation and bring this unknown quantities into the country. We don't know who they are, who they support, terrorist organisations. I'm sorry, I don't want them here.
With little or unreliable paperwork, it's difficult to know who these people really are. This is an understandable worry, especially with the threat of terrorism around the world. Hanson also raises a fair question about whether some refugees might have ties to extremist groups like Hamas. While most people escaping war are innocent, it's true that some could have dangerous beliefs. We need to be careful about who we let into the country. Our safety should always come first.
Now, this is extraordinary. We should not be letting anyone into the country who supports Hamas in any way, shape or form. And I think the Liberals asked a very good question in Parliament today, saying, surely if you're offering rhetorical support to Hamas, aren't you failing the character test to get into this country?
It should be, and that's under the visa applications. They should have character tests. Have they been imprisoned? It's all, and signing an agreement to agree with Australia's laws and all the rest of it. But that cannot be done, Chris. Some of these people have received their visas within 24 hours or 48 hours. It cannot and not possibly be done correctly to comply with the rules that it's needed. So this has been rushed through by the Albanese Labor government, and it's not in the best interest of the Australian people.
Rushing through the process, as Hanson suggests, could lead to mistakes and risks. The concern is that by pushing these applications through quickly, the Albanese Labor government may be prioritising speed over the security and safety of the Australian people. The character test is supposed to protect Australia from individuals who may pose a threat, but if it's not done properly, it loses its purpose
And that is not a character test that can be passed in Australia. We have enough problems here. You know, they've gone from possible to probable in a terror threat in Australia. Why are we opening up this, you know, could actually end up down the path of more problems? Here we have, you know, protesters here in Australia for the Palestinians, for Hamas, supporting Hamas. And we don't need more of these people in here. And I'm sorry, I'm telling Australians, I support Peter Dutton. We don't want them, we don't need them, and we shouldn't be allowing them in.
In the end, this is a tough issue. While we should care for people in need, we also need to be cautious. Hanson's argument is that we can't risk our own safety by bringing in people whose pasts we can't properly check. It's about finding a balance between helping others and keeping our country safe.
So what is the deals that's been going on with the Labor Party and the Greens pushing this agenda, because, you know, they're not standing up for what is right for Australia. And his questions on the floor of Parliament are very valid and they should be asked. But you notice that Anthony Albanese couldn't answer the questions. And to say that it's the same you know, laws that when the coalition were in, different circumstances, Chris. Of course, you've got war over there with Gaza and Israel. The fact is that 75% of the people in the Gaza supported Hamas, which is a recognised terrorist organisation.
This concern is reinforced by recent protests in Australia, where some groups have shown support for organisations like Hamas, which is designated as a terrorist group by many countries, including Australia. Her fear is that the government's current approach may open the door to even more problems, particularly in a country that is already dealing with rising tensions. She argues that Australia does not need to add more individuals who might fuel these conflicts, stating that the priority should be on maintaining national security and ensuring that those who enter the country share Australia's values.
We have to take a strong stance against Muslims, strong stance against Islam and its teachings and its beliefs. We have laws here that we don't bring in pit bull terriers because they're a danger to our society. We don't bring in certain toys because they're a danger to our society and to our children. We have laws to protect Australians. So if we know this is the case with these terrorists out there, radicalised by the belief of Islam and what it teaches, then why does our government ignore that fact? No more Muslim refugees in Australia. Take a strong stance. Protect our security, our safety on our streets, and our people.